Hi everyone, thank you for joining the video today. Today I'm going to discuss with you, I'm going to give you the first phase of a protocol that's going to help you heal your gut once and for all. Now, first thing to do is, if you haven't looked at my previous video on leaky gut syndrome, you may be interested in having a look at that before starting the phase 1 protocol. So just that you get a specific idea, an understanding of what we're going to do in the next few videos. This is a 5 stages protocol, and I'm going to share with you phase 1. So what is it for? I just said to get you a healthy gut. So if you suffer from IBS, if you have constipation, if you have diarrhea, if you suffer from ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis, if you have rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's, if you suffer from gastritis, acid reflux, esophagitis, this is something that you may want to consider as a protocol. So first thing first, get yourself a diary. You're going to write down for a week your food intake. So anything that you're taking at the moment, from snacks, breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks as well. So, and the quantity of drinks. Write down in this diary the symptoms that you're getting. If you get constipation, diarrhea, if you have stomach pain, bloating, belching, anything that you get physically, write it down. Write your stress levels. Do you feel stressed? Do you feel tired? Do you feel upset? Write your emotions, your feelings. Do that for a week. And that's where, after a week, that's where you're going to start to introduce your phase 1 of this protocol. The phase 1, it's about removing anything that can be inflammatory to the gut. So by that, what do we mean? We mean, first of all, sugar. Sugar is extremely inflammatory. I'm not just talking about white refined sugar. I'm talking about all sorts of sugar. So anything that would be biscuits, cakes, sugar that you put in your drinks, cane sugar, coconut sugar, maple syrup, agave syrup, honey, these are all sugars. No matter how they want to be disguised on, they are sugars and they are inflammatory to the gut at this stage. So you want to consider if you cannot just go cold turkey, you can just reduce progressively your sugar intake until you get to 0.0. A second thing that you want to remove is anything that's related to processed food, ready meals. So if you are, into your frozen meals, takeaways, be very careful, because they don't contain nutritional food, but they also have a lot of chemicals and ingredients to make them last longer on the shelves. So you just want to be aware of those. Don't take them for now. What you want to do instead, you want to start cooking from fresh and possibly organic vegetables or meat, anything that you can. It doesn't have to be organic if you can't, but as long as it's fresh, that's great. So you may not be used to cook. You may not want to cook. You may need help for that. So what I suggest you doing is that you find a few recipes that you like, and then you probably do some batch cooking and just freeze it. So you have it for several months if you freeze them, or just put them in the fridge. They're going to last several days. So you don't have to prepare every day. You don't have to be in the kitchen every day. Just take a day of the week, take 2 hours and do your batch cooking, and then just store if you have the facilities to store that. So that's fantastic. That's going to help you in the long run. It may take a while for you to get, an understanding on how you can manage things, but please try to do it. It's going to help you a lot. The third thing that you want to avoid completely is alcohol. Alcohol is extremely inflammatory, no matter what alcohol. It can be wine, white, red, rosé, spirits, beer, anything that has alcohol in there is inflammatory. So remove that. If you cannot remove it just, if you're a drinker and you cannot remove it just in one go, then as I said before, just progressively stop using it bit by bit until you get to 0.0. Same thing with coffee and tea. Coffee and tea are very inflammatory as well. They destroy the lining of the gut. I am talking about the lining of the gut in my previous video called Leaky Gut Syndrome. So have a look at that, please, to understand exactly what's happening in the gut when it's inflamed. So coffee and tea are very inflammatory. So you want to remove them in the same way. Make sure that, if you cannot go cold turkey, you just do it progressively. I used to be an extremely big coffee drinker. I had a very huge gastric issue 15 years ago. I had to stop. And that's how I rebuilt my gut. So I'm just sharing you, I'm not just sharing your protocol here, I'm also sharing an experience with you. Replace them with herbal teas if you can, that'd be fantastic. And try to reduce your coffees to the minimum. Especially because in coffees very often we put sugar. So, you're adding basically two inflammatory together. So it's really a lethal combination. Another thing is smoking. So let's talk a little bit about lifestyle. If you're a smoker, I understand that that can be a very big issue to stop or to reduce. However, just keep in mind that cigarettes is extremely inflammatory to the gut in the same way as coffee, alcohol. They're very corrosive, especially with the fact that we know that in cigarettes there are the addition of many chemicals that are there to make us addicted, so we just go for more, and these don't help the gut in any shape or form. So also I introduce the idea of, try to see if you can stop or reduce somehow. Another thing that you want to reduce is gluten and dairy. Some of us may be intolerant or allergic. Usually these are intolerances, but we may be intolerant to gluten. So if you feel that you're intolerant to gluten, please don't use gluten. Don't replace it with any gluten-free alternative, because they are full of sugar instead and chemicals. So you just want to try to, go without gluten for phase one. If you need help with that, I would suggest maybe try something with a sweet potato. Just a very quick idea here. See if you can integrate it. But anything that is bread based, pizza or pita bread, etc., pasta, put it on the side for the time being. Dairy. Human beings have not been made to digest dairy food throughout their lives. So that's a very big misconception that we have at the moment, because we are drinking milk, but we are not really supposed to drink milk. Most of us, some of us can do that. Why is that? Because there is an enzyme that is actually used by the body to break down dairy, so milk, cheese, yogurt, etc. This enzyme is only in the body for the first few years of our life. So when we are babies, when we're taking the milk from our mothers, then yes, the body produces this enzyme that helps us to break down dairy. As we are growing up, as we're growing older, this enzyme disappears, the body doesn't produce it anymore. Some of us are lucky enough, they have the chance to still produce some of it, but most of the population doesn't. So remember that dairy can be if you feel that you have an intolerance or an allergy, please, in this phase one, please stop any kind of dairy. As I mentioned before, cheese, yogurt, and milk, of course. Now let's talk about medication. Medication are really, inflammatory to the gut. So they have their purpose and they're very good, but in the long run, they can cause inflammation. Now, if you are taking medicine over the counter, you may want to think of, okay, if you can reduce that intake. I'm not suggesting that you stop taking anything that was given to you by your GP. So, but In certain cases, we see that some people go to the shop, go to the pharmacy quite often and just grab anything that they can find over the counter, and they just self-medicate. In those circumstances, I would say, try to think, is it actually really necessary for me to take this, or can I just, hang on for another hour and, I'll make it better without, having to take anything. Here I'm thinking really about migraines, these sort of things that in general, if you just stay still for 30 minutes, an hour, they would just, the body would process them and they would disappear without the help of any medication. So think about it. As I said, I'm not suggesting in any way that you stop taking the medication that the doctor has given you. So if you wanted to do that, you would have to consult with them first. But just try to think of your medical intake and medicine intake and see what you can do with that. Same thing goes for supplementation. The world is full of supplements. They're all more beautiful than the other. And we are keeping taking many of them for sometimes no apparent reason. If you haven't consulted with a nutritionist or a naturopath about your supplementation that you're taking, then maybe it's a good idea to do so, because they may not be relevant to you anyway. But if you're taking any supplementation, I suggest that in this phase 1, you may just consider to, just have a look at them and see if you can just retire them for a while. Again, there are some supplements that the GP would have given you for specific reasons. So I'm not suggesting for you that you stop those either. Another thing that you will have to do in this phase is to try to understand how your stress levels are. So if you have very high stress levels, chances are that stress has had a negative impact on your gut and your stomach lining. So you want to try to reduce your stress as much as possible. We hardly feel that we are stressed. When you ask someone if they are stressed, they will always say, 90% of the time, they will always say, no, I'm not feeling the stress, because we have it so much in us that we don't even recognize anymore. We don't really pay attention to that. We just get on with our life and that's it. But make a conscious decision to, figure out exactly, okay, am I stressed in this situation? Am I not stressed in this situation? And what can I do to sort that out? So a few very quick lifestyle changes or introduction. Meditation could be one of those. A breathing technique could be one of those as well. I'm going to create a video on breathing technique as well. So I know that meditation, for example, can be very daunting. I never used to know how to do it. It was just stressing me out just to think about meditating. But how I started is that I started with 2 or 3 minutes guided meditation per day. 2 or 3 minutes was enough for me to get me started. And progressively, I continued to, increase the minutes and, the guidance, etc. So, you don't have to start with full, complete meditation of 2 hours with no guidance, and, that's not going to help you to achieve anything. But if you find a 2 minutes, 3 minutes meditation guided, that would be fantastic. If you feel that you are not stressed, but you still have a gut issue, then what I suggest you doing is that before every meal, you sit down and you do a little bit of breathing exercise or a 2 minutes meditation, just to relax the body and to make it able to receive the food that you're going to give it. So try that every time that you're having a meal and see if it makes a difference. Progressively, it will just help your muscles to relax inside of your body, and it's going to help absorption as well. So these are the things for this phase. As I mentioned before, the phase is not easy. It's quite tough, but if you're committed to it, you're going to get fantastic results. So don't give up. Let me recap what I have just talked about. Get yourself a diary. Write down the food, emotions, supplements, medication, symptoms, anything that you can think of. Secondly, removal. This phase is about removal. Removal of sugar, bread, gluten, dairy, medication where possible, supplements where possible, alcohol, coffee, teas, cigarettes where possible, so ready meals. And the third thing is try to understand, try to listen to your body if you feel that it's stressed, and try to reduce your stress. Now, all this is complicated. It can be daunting. I am available for you if you want. There's a link under this video that takes you to a 30 minutes free consultation with me. So if you want to click on it, you can book a consultation, or you can just send me an email, and I'm happy to have a chat with you for 30 minutes, and it's free. In the meantime, start to implement phase 1 of the protocol. I'm going to create new videos for the other different protocols, and stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching.